Hi you guys, good morning, happy Monday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Welcome to my channel, Wholesale to Million. This is Khang. So, I was doing a live stream last Friday, and Luke asked a questions about, do you have to be, I think the question was, do you have to be pretty flexible, or your approach has to be pretty flexible when it comes to seller or buyer? So do your personality has to change a little bit when it comes to talking to seller or dealing with a certain situation, all right? And Luke, I hope I understand your question right. So I want to share with you guys kind of my thoughts and how I operate, right? Maybe for some of you it might be different, but maybe for some of you it might be the same. But I'm going to share with you kind of my thoughts and how I operate when approaching a certain a seller or a buyer. So here's my so here's the quote that I want to use, and it's from Bruce Lee. And he said, you know, if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. And he said, be water, my friend. And what he means is you got to be flexible, right? Every situation is different. You're going to encounter, you know, every seller, their personality is different. Every buyer, every people that you come in contact with, their personality, you know, might be different, not going to be the same as yours. So you have to be flexible in you have to be able to be flexible and blend in with every encounter or every situations that you encounter, all right? So, you know, sometimes a seller, you know, sometimes when I talk to a seller and I call them by their name all the time, and they're like, well, Khang, I don't really know you. I don't know why you keep on using my name. Like, we're really close. So, and then I change it to, oh, Mrs., Mr., ma'am, sir, right? So I change, right? And it's the other way around where I talk to seller. You guys, I've shared this because it does happen. And I calling her ma'am, and she's like, well, you make it sound like I'm really etc., right? So girls, they don't. So anyway, and then I change it, right? And then you just gotta adapt, right? You just gotta adapt. Some people you can talk to, and you can be like, hey bro, hey man, hey dude, and then some of them, you know, don't. So what it is, you know, you gotta be genuine. You gotta be like who you are, but in certain situations, because we're dealing with business, in certain situations, you have to be able to change. Right, you have to be able to change and adapt, all right? Some seller, you know, and there's time when you need to be firm, and there's time where you have, you know, you just need to be flexible. The whole goal is to get the deal done, all right? So, you know, there's time where we encounter a seller where they're like, yo, we're not going to do any deals. You know, you guys have to come out and look at the property before I sign anything, right? And they're really firm on that. And so we're like, hey, you know what? Nope, that's not how our business operates. I'm sorry, but thank you for the opportunities. Call back when you would consider working with us, you know, on how we do it, all right? And that's where we're firm, right? Because the goal is we want to take this business as virtual, not having to go out there and meet with seller. I've done that, and it's just I've done that, and that way just not work. It just didn't work for me. It just takes too much time, etc. We just, you know, so the goal is to go virtually, right? To do it virtually and not have to go out there. And that's where we're firm with the seller. Either, hey, it's our way, or, hey, it's no way, right? And when we come encounter with the buyer, right? Some people will be like, hey, here's the price. Take it or leave it, all right? And to me, I believe that there's time where you can do that, and there's time where you just have to be flexible. So let me give you for an example. So let's just say you got that property under contract, and you send it out to your buyer, right? And a couple of your, you know, and maybe they done a drive-by on the property, but they haven't walked through, and they done a drive-by on the property, and they're like, hey, Khang, you know, are you guys you guys, I have buyer has asked me these kind of questions, all right? And they'll be like, hey, Khang, do you have room on the price to move, or is the price pretty firm with the seller, etc.? Now, at that time, you have to be able to identify what's your situation is. Is this the only buyer you have? Or do you have 3 or other buyers that tells you that you're interested? Then you're going to come back, you know, you want to come back. I understand you don't want to come back to the buyer as weak. You know, you don't want to come back to the buyer as like you're weak, or you need them, or they're the only one, right? So to me, there's other ways to say it. So if this is my only buyers, then I will come back and I will be like, you know what? Yeah, you know, there might be a little bit of room. You know, the seller has taken, you know, you put it on the seller and saying, hey, the seller, you know, they've taken a really hit on the property already. Their only reason why they're willing to sell it at a discount to us is because they're running into a certain situation. So yeah, you know, there is a little bit of room, but why don't you go do your number? If you like it, I'll set up the walkthrough, and then after that, you just let me know what number works for you, all right? And and you can tell them, hey, the goal is, to make it work for everybody. If we can come to an agreement, and we can make it work we want to make it work for our buyer. We want to make it work for us. We want to make it work for the seller. So we can come to an agreement, make it work for everybody. I'm more than happy to do it, all right? So when I think when you come in like that, it's not necessary you're desperate. They didn't say, hey, is there room to move? Yeah, you know what? We can work on the price a little bit, right? We can talk about the price a little bit. Yeah, there's room to negotiate, but you kind of let them know there is room, but the seller has taken a hit on it already on the price. We want to make it work for you, for us, and for the seller. If we can do it, great. If we can't, no big deal, right? So you want them to say, hey, if we can't do it, no big deal. I mean, there's times where, let's just say you first market the property, and that a first buyer calls back and say, hey, are you flexible on the price? You'd be like, no, not at this time. That's the price we just sent it out to the buyer, and, it's fresh on the market. So yeah, we're pretty much firm on that price as for right now, right? So to me, you see, this pen is solid. So if I'm gonna break, if you're gonna try to break this, you'll be able to break it. But what if it was rubber? You can't break it, right? So you want to, when something is firm, is solid, it's easy to break. But when it's flexible, right? When it's flexible, it's hard to break it. All right, it's hard to break it. And so my whole thing is, every situation is different. When you come in, and as the more you do this, right, the more experience you're gonna get, and the better you are gonna be at dealing with seller, dealing with buyer, negotiating, all right, talking to them, how you're gonna handle it, right, how you're gonna handle that situation, and trying to get, how you're gonna handle it to come in as strong, not as weak, but also is flexible, all right? So, and when I first started to you guys, when buyer asked that, I went through it. I came back, gave an answer that was really weak, or the seller, etc. Right? And over time, you're just gonna build up, and you're just gonna sound much better. All right? You're gonna come in with, there's situation where you're gonna come in with confident, like you're firm, but you also let them know, hey, we can work something out. Right? It's just how you approach and how you talk to the seller and the buyer. All right? And so it's really depend on you guys. My whole thing is when the buyer asks me about the price, I always let, if it's fresh, I let them know, hey, it's just new. We just got it tied up. You're like the first person that we sent out, I sent out to, or you're the third or the fourth person that we sent out to. We have other interest party at this time, that's the price, right? And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, maybe you want to check back with us, right? So, and there were times where, you just send it out, and the buyer comes back and say, hey, Khang, are you pretty firm? Yes. Yep. Our price pretty firm on it. There's really nothing much I can do with the price as of right now. It's just a hot property, right? If it's a hot property, if you got a lot of buyer, you can come back and tell them, yep, the price pretty firm, right? There's a property where it's really hot. That's what we tell them. Yep, the price is pretty firm on it. If you want it, if you like it, take it. If you don't, we have other buyers that's looking at it, and I'm sure that we're going to be able to sell this price as asking price. Right? So there's time where you can come in and be firm like that, right? Be firm, right? So anyways, you guys, that's kind of my thoughts on the subjects. Drop me a comment, let me know what you guys think. So to me, it's like, personalities wise, when you approach a certain, or when you encounter, or when you come into a certain situations, a certain circumstances, dealing with a certain people, you have to be able to adapt, right? I think, to me anyways, I think to be good, you have to be able to adapt, right? You have to be able to adapt, adjust yourself, adjust your personality, adjust your thoughts, and things like that. You have to be able to adjust and adapt and try to take control and dominate that situations, all right? So anyways, you guys, to me, I think there's time where you need to be firm. There's time you need to be flexible. And it all depends on the situations, because every situation is going to be different. Every seller, every buyer is going to be different, right? But I think that there's way that you can come back, letting the buyer know that it's, you know, it's firm, but you don't also want to scare, or you don't always want to push the buyer away. You know, I mean, let me give you another example. Let's say a buyer comes in and they'll be like, hey, you know, let's just say they did the walkthrough already, all right? They did the walkthrough, they did the inspection, they come back to you and they'll be like, so what do you know, do you guys have room to move? Nope, we're firm. Yep, that's our price. Because now you come back as like an ego, you come back and like you want to be firm with them, and you be like, yep, take it or leave it, man. I don't want to deal with this, you know, take it or leave it. And then you end up losing that buyer, right? You end up saying, hey, take it or leave it, and the buyer's like, oh, he's not going to negotiate, he's not going to try to work with us, or, you know, she's not going to try to work with us. So they just didn't make you an offer. They just went off and figured that's your price, you're firm on it, and it's done. Maybe they only want a couple $1,000s off, and you know, you're making a spread of 10 or 15 or 20,000 plus, right? And maybe they're only asking you, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 off, but you're like, you know what? Yep, that's the price. Take it or leave it. I'm done. And then you end up losing on that that buyer. Maybe later on you couldn't find another buyer. Then you come back to that buyer. You'd be like, hey, you know what? You know, maybe at that time they're willing to talk to you, right, to get the deal done, or maybe they've already found another property that they're looking to buy. I always want to keep it open-ended, right? So I always want to be able to be firm, but then come back the next day or something like that and saying, hey, you know what? So what are you guys thinking of as far as price-wise, and see if we can make it work for everybody. My whole thing, you guys, when I come into a deal, it's all about getting the deal done and how quickly we can get the deal done. There is deals where I send it out, where I send it out to the buyer, right? And I send it out to a buyer, and we got like 3 buyers or so going out there looking at a piece of property, and then the first buyer jumped back to me and said, hey, Khang, you know what? If you take $5,000 off, we can get this deal done and we can close it within like 3 days or 5 days. I'll do it. I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait around to hear the other buyer. But obviously, you guys gotta understand, what is your spread. If your spread was only $5,000 and he wants $5,000, then obviously, right? And if it's $10,000, you know, you have to think, is that deal worth it to go ahead and move forward and get it done? Because the whole goal is, you guys, get that deal off your shoulder, right? Get that deal done so you can now focus on the next one and the next one. And that's how I operate, so, right? And I always look at the spread. Is it just say, hey, you know what? Not worth it. Boom. Let's get it done. Let's get it, move on to the next one, right? So if my spread was 20, 25,000, the buyer comes back and the buyer's like, Khang, you know, if you can take 5,000 off, we're ready to move forward. We're ready to close on it, right? And you know, how quickly can you close on it? They're like, yep, we can get it done in 5, 7 days or 10 days. Let's get it done. You know, we're ready to go right now. I'm not gonna wait around to hear other buyers, right? Because, you know, you can tell your buyer that, right? You can tell your buyer, hey, you know what? You know, I haven't heard from other buyer yet, but they're like, you know what, Khang, I'm ready to go right now. You know, let's get this done. Let's ready to go. So at that time, it really depends on you. You know, and I have come across that situations, right? And I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna make 20K on this one. Done. Let's, you know, that's what I'm thinking, right? The spread was 25. This just happened on one of my deal recently. And I said, yeah, 25, you know what, they're ready to go. I'm not gonna, you know, and I text the other buyer and they're like, yeah, you know what, Khang, just give us like 5, you know, just give us like, you know, couple hours and we can, you know, I think I have to talk to my buyer, or I have to talk to my partner, and I think that we'll be able to make a deal. Nope, for me, at that time, that's a buyer that's ready to go. I'm willing to take that $5,000 cut. I got a $20,000 profit. I'm just gonna move forward, get the deal done. You know, you guys gotta understand, sometimes people change their mind, and people change their mind quick. I have buyers that say, yep, I'm ready to go, and then all of a sudden, 3 hours later, they change their mind, right? Same with the seller, right? So I was like, you gotta strike when the iron is hot. You gotta strike it when it's hot. And if the number works for you, and if the situations, if everything works, my whole thing is get it done and move on to the next one. Right? When you have something linger and you got to deal with it, you just can't take your attention and focus on something else. So my whole thing is, if the profits is right for me, if that's what I'm set, I'm just gonna move forward and get it done. So anyways, you guys, that's kind of my thoughts. I just want to share that with you. And Luke, I hope that answered your questions a little bit, kind of my mindset, how I think, and how I operate. So anyways, you guys, I would like to hear from you. What's your thought is, how you think, and how, like, what's your, you know, so drop me a comment and let me know, you guys. And if you guys are interested in, for those of you who wants to learn about wholesaling houses and you want to do it virtually and you want to make some money doing it in 2018, then smash that subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up, you guys. If you guys enjoy this video, right? Smash that thumb up. Don't be shy. And thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for every single one of you guys that have subscribed and have helped the channel grow. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.